Taken out of context. Taken out of context.
Taking things out of context and out of context.
Taken out of context.
Taken out of context.
In the context.
We have no context. Out of context.
Out of context.
That is so out of context.
And take shit out of context. Out of context.
Out of context.
You're taking it out of context. No, hey, we're gonna flesh this out. I want to say we don't take things out of context.
Clipping out of context.
If it's out of context.
It's hard for your words to be taken out of context. The full context.
In a modern day context.
Only the context.
Another important reminder as to why context is so important. So,
Hey everyone, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context, Fair Use Disclaimer, Free Speech Disclaimer. So Candace Owens, with her massive platforms, is loosely promoting people who agree with her. But she keeps on keeping on with the whole Turning Point USA betrayed Charlie Kirk, even though Charlie Kirk was Turning Point USA, of which his wife is now CEO. She is Turning Point USA. She's too lazy to even verify, fact check, corroborate, cross-verify, vet any information she says, is this true? Fully expecting other people to do the work for her because some person says that Turning Point USA removed their refund policy amid Candace Owens giving that suggestion. She quite literally says, I am making a personal plea to every well-meaning person who donated to this godforsaken organization to request a refund, which brings me to the previous screenshot I just showed you, where a user said that Turning Point USA removed the refund and refund policy from their website, and then she got fact-checked very quickly. One user uploads screenshots saying that absolutely no, that is not true. But it's really funny how Candace Owens expects everybody else to do the work for her. And she's just asking, is this true? Can you verify this? Has anybody got confirmation of this? Like, no, Candace, that's your job. But she's also attacking a lot of ministers, pastors, spiritual, religious leaders. She even has Xavier Poussard, the man who spent 9 years of his life investigating Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron, of whose investigation she usurped and took and tried to pass off as her own. Candace is so quick to remind us that when everything is said and done, and the public learns that Macron allegedly moved $1.5 million for my assassination, how will the world respond? I'll tell you how we are responding now, not when it's all said and done. We are calling this out as bullshit, and the reason why is because of the word allegedly and the fact that you had this entire assassination attempt on your life. You wanted to take another week off for the Thanksgiving federal holiday, national holiday, right after being already on a 2-week vacation previous. Well, I can tell you one thing with absolute certainty. You don't take your 4 small children, your husband and yourself, to an open amusement park, a public amusement park, amid assassination plot. And you're talking a tri-national assassination plot, according to her, the US, the French, and Israel. My daughter's best friend went to Tennessee for Thanksgiving, and they spent yesterday at Dollywood. Guess who she ran into? Yep, Candace Owens. Out in the open in a public place amongst claimed assassination attempts. Make it make sense. And yes, this photo is from yesterday. She went on vacation for a whole week for an extended holiday, ignoring everyone, leaving them on a dramatic cliffhanger, and trying to give the LLC Palace and the White House time to respond or make a statement. And then she goes on to say in another post that the LLC Palace and the White House aren't going to make a statement or respond, trying to bait them into doing exactly that. But Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, and his wife, Brigitte Macron, are suing Candace Owens. And the best way to end a lie, something that's made up and didn't happen, is to literally just cut the head right off of the snake so it can't slither anymore. You simply ignore it. You don't give it the attention that it wants, and you certainly stop feeding it. So how has the world responded now, here, today, especially with her attacking Turning Point USA once again? She believes with full confidence that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by the leadership of Turning Point USA, and she's going to be naming names and finally dropping that real evidence. because she's not an investigative journalist. So she's not upheld by any kind of, legal standards, oath, morals. No, she's a sensationalist, a propagandist, a conspiracy entertainer via social media as the vehicle. Look at the very substance of Candace Owens and her show for the last year. There is nothing educational. There is nothing leading by example, leading with kindness, leading with faith, leading with any kind of historical or world history, educational purposes. No, it's just pure orchestrated chaos in the form of conspiracy theories. And conspiracy theories are conspiracy because they're unfounded. There is no evidence to back them up. That is the opposite of an investigative journalist. People that truly spend years working on one single story, vetting, fact-checking, verifying, corroborating, exposing evil and corruption at the very foundation in all capacities, and bringing that proof and that evidence to the public sphere. Candace Owens does the exact opposite of that. But you know who else does that? They say North Korea does with their state media. The Third Reich did it with propaganda. They owned and operated all of the newspapers, radio, television, controlling everything you see, hear, and read. And Candace Owens knows that social media is the new mainstream media. So why is she so hell-bent on being perceived by the public and society as the end-all be-all of Charlie Kirk and his internal knowledge, his faith, and even his own organization? Because trust me, bro, is not gonna cut it. You're talking about a man who truly did lose his life to an act of gun violence, and nobody knew him better than his wife. So why is Candace oddly giving this feeling like she's jealous of Erica Kirk, like she wants to be Erica Kirk, like she wants to be the head and at the helm of this really powerful nonprofit organization that has all of these branches that are not only faith, but political? Because Candace Owens isn't a politician. Is she secretly plotting her revenge because she's envious, which is a 7 deadly sin, and she's jealous because she feels like she should have a place and a platform with Turning Point USA, that she should have been offered a bigger job at Turning Point USA? I don't know. But I do know that what she's doing attacking his legacy is really fucking cruel. And no, don't excuse my French, because I'm saying it as kindly as possible. There is much better descriptive words and language out of 178,000 English words that I know and over 5,000 French words that I know that could describe the evil of Candace Owens. And I mean evil as far as her actions, words, choices, and her deliberate behaviors. It's pure narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy, and nobody can tell me any different. And that is really unfortunate and sad, because since I left the cult of Candace Owens, which I've done multiple videos covering, I stopped being a fan and a follower of hers because of Charlie Kirk, because I too had a God instinct and a vision, and I opened my eyes. I paid very, very close attention, and I refuse to be put in a paranoid state, an anxious state, to live life being fearful because of Candace Owens and her constant propaganda. So what did I do? I started talking about it. And as much as Candace Owens runs her mouth and never shuts the hell up, everybody else has the right to free speech. But the difference is, free speech isn't protecting of lies and deliberate orchestrating of mistruths, misinformation, lies that amount to defamation, slander, libel, threats, false accusations. But my constitutional right, my legal and basic rights to free speech are certainly covered, especially the truth, especially my thoughts, feelings, opinions, critiques, and criticisms. And no, Candace Owens is not free from critique or criticism from anybody. In fact, quite the opposite. Her large platform and her reach, especially on social media, demands that she be held accountable and be held to a higher standard. But of course, she doesn't care about being a good, decent person that's truly God-fearing and really does care and love, her once friend, Charlie Kirk. No, she didn't even go to his private funeral or viewing, burial. She certainly didn't attend his memorial. Nope. She's using psychological manipulation on her audience and with very powerful figures in politics, foreign leaders. And I think it's hilarious that the Macrons didn't pay her no mind, because why would they? They're literally suing her in a court of law. They went through the appropriate channels. But no, Candace Owens and her small, very, very small children, of which there are 4 of, are too busy spending Thanksgiving at Dollywood. And then she said in yesterday's YouTube video that the LLC Palace and the White House refused to make any kind of statement. Yeah, okay. So you really think that there's a real credible threat to your life, then why the hell are you out in public? Why are you not reporting it directly to the FBI and people that follow you are doing that? And why the hell, out of all the things that you can try to bait people into doing, why would you try to bait the person that allegedly put out a hit to assassinate you? Wouldn't that kind of be the last person you'd want to see or talk to? Right. She thought she was so slick, so trifling, and so intelligent that she was going to bait them out of some kind of statement and then use that in her lawsuit. And not just in her lawsuit, fighting back, but she also wants to use it for content. And it was so great to see the Macrons did not even pay her any mind and certainly did not respond. They don't need to respond to anything. The truth is simply the truth. It did not happen. And that's the funny thing about the truth. The truth is only one thing, but there are endless amounts of possibilities for lies. And Candace Owens' entire modus operandi is really dabbling and playing around in those endless amounts of possibilities that are all lies. Everything but the verifiable, confirmed truth. What really happened, what really occurred, what truly took place. And that is exactly where her and her content always lives and thrives. That is very dark. That in and of itself is a very negative place to be and operate from.
Came first, the chicken or the egg? That's what's on my mind. That's what's on my mind really all day.
Really? That's what was on her mind all day, was thinking about which came first, the chicken or the egg or the chicken. Are you kidding?
Because yesterday we were explaining to you guys this sort of random coincidence, maybe not a coincidence, of the FBI seemingly choosing to work in offices that are kind of being run by like French royalty in essence, right? These old French American families. Now, why would our FBI do that?
Her obsession with the FBI is getting a little bit kind of crazy now. Is she upset because she's not a federal agent, or is she upset that she doesn't have their resources?
Surely they would have been aware that they were choosing to work in buildings that might potentially have some foreign interests. But then you know what? It clicked. LOL to the American history that's taught to us in the public schools.
Yeah, guess what? It wasn't just Britain who colonized. It was also France, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands. From Canada to Argentina. What do you think the language is spoken? Not what the Native Americans, the Maya, the Aztec, and the Incas spoke, that's for sure. But Candace also likes to skim over the fact that her own attorneys that she's using to fight against the president of France and the first lady of France is also in that same building.
The French helped to establish the United States. They came over and they helped us win our big independence from the big bad Brits. And then what? They just left us alone. It was just an act of charity. Like, we're good. We want nothing in return. We just want you guys to be free. Does that make sense to you? Come on.
Again, somebody who clearly doesn't know history all that well. American or world history, because out of the 5 nations that colonized the Americas, from Canada down to Argentina, the one that made out the most was the Brits, especially as far as how much land they claimed. The fact that they took slaves from the slave coast of Africa, from the Spanish and the Portuguese who colonized Mexico, Central and South America. Why do you think they speak Spanish and Portuguese to this day. Does she not remember Canada, Michigan? What was the French and Indian War all about? I really don't think Britain was in need of the French, nor placating and ass-kissing them. Certainly not in the way she's trying to depict or portray today.
We ran that poll wondering whether or not the public agreed with me about my lawsuit, me being filed by Brigitte Macron, me being sued by Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron, and whether or not it was just one big federal setup meant to bankrupt me.
Well, one can say if you're not doing anything wrong and you're not telling lies, then there would be no reason to sue you. It would be dismissed right away. It would be dropped. Or at the very, very least and worst, you would be found not guilty. Good, honest, decent, God-fearing truth tellers don't get sued, especially not by the president of France. That's not just stepping on somebody's toes and pissing somebody off with the truth. You're literally creating lies and doing something slanderous for them to sue you. I've read, and on my community post, I have linked multiple times the lawsuit for you to go read, which I highly suggest everybody go do. Because Candace Owens has said and done a lot of things in that lawsuit, and she has highly misrepresented that lawsuit to her audience and what it's really all about. And yes, the Macrons do address the substance of Candace Owens' claims that Brigitte Macron is really Jean-Michel Trogneau and not Brigitte Trogneau.
And here is an answer that we got in the comment section. Look at this. I believe that the purpose of Macron's lawsuit was that it was supposed to go nowhere because Candace was supposed to have been assassinated before the case got to court.
That's really hilarious. Her whole entire proof for this assassination plot being real and true, even though she has to say allegedly a million times, or things like I think, or I feel, or I'm confident that I think, is that somebody else is buying and believing her shit, and they actually believe that the lawsuit has to do with just shutting her up, trying to bankrupt her. Candace Owens and her husband are worth too much money to bankrupt, first and foremost. She's made an immense amount of money. I mean, millions in the past 2 months off of, Charlie Kirk's death. As she so gracefully says, her friend who caught a bullet to his throat. One thing Candace Owens does not lack is a flair for the exaggerated. But her proof is that somebody posted it on X, or that somebody left that comment, so therefore it must be true because that's what they think. They think that bullshit because that's the propaganda that Candace Owens has been spewing in content for the last 2 months, going on 3 now. That's worse than just trust me, bro. That is a slap in the face. Because those good God-fearing people genuinely believe Candace Owens, and they really do believe that she had a credible threat to her life. Because we know one thing for certain. If a highly trained military operative had the highly classified top secret assignment to take out Candace Owens, well, it's just like she said before. When one of her comments on her published video, not her live, her published video, aka her daily show, said that they really fear for her and they are worried for her. And she said, well, and you can look this clip up yourself. I'm not going to go hunt it down. But she said, I do know one thing. If they want to kill you, they're going to kill you. If they want you dead, they're just going to do it. Yes. And military operatives are highly skilled, exercised, intelligent, experienced. They don't operate in amateur sloppiness. If they wanted to take anybody out anywhere, they certainly would do that. And it would be done with high skill and precision. Like I said, before the rest of the world even woke up to have breakfast and see it hit the worldwide news.
Tells us that his great-grandfather is the DuPont family patriarch, Irénée DuPont, and his father is Robert H. Richards.
Fair use, commentary, and reaction for educational and entertainment purposes only. So now the Egyptian military planes are directly linked to Candace Owens and her attorney's office, which is also the office of a joint venture between the FBI, the DEA, and the CIA. And now she's admitting that that entire building, in fact, the entire area, is owned by essentially French royalty, because, France hasn't had royalty or a monarch since the French Revolution happened in France. But let's see how this goes. Let's see how she tries to explain a second link between her and the Egyptian planes, or her and France, her and Charlie Kirk's assassination, her and the FBI, the DEA, and the CIA. I'm starting to believe that Candace Owens is more linked to Charlie Kirk's assassination than Turning Point USA is at this point. Hell, I'm starting to think that Candace Owens had very personal, very intensive insider knowledge and understanding of not only Charlie Kirk's day-to-day life and activities, but how he operated Turning Point USA. Who better to give the feds, the CIA, the DEA all information on Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA? In fact, if you follow the money, who has made the most off of Charlie Kirk's death? In fact, who has been deflecting away from the feds and from France and the president of France with this lawsuit when she's probably working with them all? And if she can get Charlie Kirk out of the way, well, then she finally has an opportunity to be the #1 podcast, have good book sales, and the #1 show on YouTube. Not to mention potentially make double digits millions off of said content. But no, it would be preposterous to ask those questions, right? No, because the hypocrisy of that is that only Candace Owens can do that. Sorry, last time I checked, Candace Owens is not anointed by God. She does not have the gift to talk to God. She doesn't hear from God. She doesn't obey God. And she certainly doesn't follow God's commands and rules to living a righteous life. So we're just supposed to believe her? Absolutely not. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? That's exactly what she does. Even being a sociopath and a psychopath with very heavy, narcissistic, deep, dark tendencies, I still would never even assume, speculate, insinuate, or imply something like that, even about Candace Owens. Because it's not only fucking ludicrous, it's preposterous. But yet she gets away with it every single day. And people stand by and not only condone it, they justify and they support it. To the point people are actually making threats against Erica Kirk now over on Twitter, aka X today. And no, I am not joking. They truly are. Fans of Candace Owens are making real tangible threats towards Erica Kirk. One user even said this: "You know what's really messed up?" And this is a Candace Owens fan. This is how she makes her money. This is evil. This money is not only tainted money, this is cursed money. This is Judas betrays Jesus type money. But they continue on. "Someone will eventually tell Charlie Kirk's kids how evil their mom was and what she did. Charlie Kirk's kids have some really rough years ahead of them. That is because of what Candace Owens has never shut up saying by insinuating and implicating. When she talks about the leadership at Turning Point USA, she is directly referring to Charlie Kirk himself as CEO and now Erica Kirk as current CEO since his death. Very simple to comprehend. Charlie Kirk was the leader at Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk is the leader at Turning Point USA. And now people that follow and watch Candace have it in their head that it's okay to say these things about Charlie Kirk's babies and about his wife, their mother. Of course, I do believe that she deserves grace, and Erica Kirk's own body language and behavior has been very questionable, considering that her husband was assassinated. But what Candace Owens has done and insinuated on top of that has just made it so much worse. And why is that, do you ask? Well, it's because, like Candace Owens says, if it was up to her and it was her opinion and it was her advice to Erica Kirk that she would not be the CEO, she would give that job to somebody else, at least for a said time while she mourns. Again, it's conflicting to be the CEO of Turning Point USA and also trying to mourn the loss of your husband, your children's father. Simply put, Candace Owens is envious. She is reeling with jealousy over Erica Kirk, over her position, over her being CEO of Turning Point USA, over her aesthetic, her physical beauty, her physicality, the overall love and attention and affection that she has been given. Candace Owens operates as if she's the one that is deserving and has earned all of that. And in her own mind, she should be the head of Charlie's organization.
a retired partner in the Richards, Layton and Finger law firm. Now, I already know what you're going to say. Hey, Candace, is that the law firm that's filing the paperwork for you? And the answer to that is yes. And I did not know that, no, until literally yesterday.
So for those of you who are not understanding, Candace Owens directly tied her own attorney's office, the exact address of her lawyer's office, fighting the president of France, who sued her. She tied her own attorney's office directly to an Egyptian military plane that she linked to Charlie Kirk's assassination. But now she is also directly linking the French DuPont family right to the actual law firm itself. And that law firm itself shares a building in very close proximity to the FBI, the DEA, and the CIA, their shared office. And yet she is being sued by France, by their president and first lady. And you know what Erica Kirk once said? She doesn't believe in coincidences. Well, there's 4 links right there directly to Candace Owens, to either Charlie Kirk's assassination, to the federal agency that shares an office with it, and even to French American royalty. So says her.
Because Richards didn't sound to me like DuPont, so I had not put 2 and 2 together. As I was doing this episode talking about the DuPont family, I hadn't realized that the people that are filing paperwork for me, or rather the founder of that firm, the founding partner of that firm, who's since retired, is DuPont. It's the DuPont family. So,
of course, she doesn't realize that, because I can guarantee you she doesn't even read her scripted show until it's right about time to film.
Makes sense, because as the people in Delaware are telling us, everything is DuPont. The Vanity Fair article continues. The heir to the DuPont chemical fortune and...
Let me guess. The French family, the DuPonts, are directly linked to chemical warfare. Yeah, she's pretty predictable and cliche at this point.
I don't know anything.
The one time that Candace Owens actually does tell the truth, she really doesn't know anything. She's just making it up as she goes. She's winging it, man. She's just improvising as she goes.
I don't know anything at this point, except everything stinks to high heaven.
The one thing that really stinks the most is the fact that Candace Owens tries to hide behind God and tell people that are more faithful to God, more devout, more God-fearing, that they're evil and that they're wrong because they don't agree with her specific brand of evil, which is psychological manipulation. But what also stinks is her just pure obsession with the Macrons. She's been talking about this for years, and she finally usurped Xavier Poussard's investigation for her own. And now she's sued because of a whole lot of other things that she said in the Becoming Brigitte series, including but not limited to the possibility of incest, the possibility of a forced father and son relationship, a possible pedophilia ring, and even links to Jeffrey Epstein, which are all just absurd because she shows zero evidence or proof for that. And that's so far off of the mark of Xavier Poussard's book, Becoming Brigitte.
And so I start asking myself, what do we all have in common? Why are we all just chilling in Delaware? That's what I'm trying to ascertain. What are we all doing over here near King Street? Who is the king? Right?
That's a good question, Candace. What are you doing over there in Delaware? Because that's also where your LLCs are registered, right? Is that not where her husband also registers his? And notice how she lumps herself in with Weir. So who is your king, Candace? Because if I had to make an estimated guess, I would say Lucifer. You had millions of people believing that you legitimately had an assassination attempt on your life. You had real people concerned for you that they went and reported it to the FBI. Meanwhile, you're just having a good old Thanksgiving holiday extended weekend, going to Dollywood and continuing said bullshit. The word salads, the word play. It's getting tiring. There's only 178,000 approximate English words. There's only so many ways, shapes, and forms that she can tell everybody that she doesn't do the job of actually vetting, confirming, corroborating, separating Jack from shit, knowing the difference, and presenting you the real proof, the evidence, the testimony. So there's only one way that this is going to end for Candace Owens, and she's already had a problem before with being and staying monetized on YouTube. But also, said lawsuit. I really only see one way that this ends for her, because conspiracy theories and unfounded allegations, false allegations like the DoorDash girl, Amber Heard, those only take you so far because lies can only take you so far before it all crashes and burns. And I think her lying about an assassination plot against her is pretty much that point of crashing and burning, especially knowing that she took it so serious, she ended up going to an amusement park with her family for Thanksgiving, of which she just had her 4th baby. And she also wanted her alleged assassins to put out a statement, not only to her, but about her. That right there tells you everything you need to know about how serious and real that assassination plot is. Because even she didn't take it serious enough to protect herself or her family or her babies.
A little bit uncomfortable. Are you feeling uncomfortable? Because you should be feeling uncomfortable, especially if you're me, okay? And you find out really by the grace of God that there was this plot to murder me.
There was a plot to murder you? If France just within the last week and a half had an assassination plan, what makes you think that they're not going to still carry it out? What makes you think that they're going to stop? As Candace Owens once said, over my dead body, and I'm sure that that can be arranged. If they want you dead, they're going to kill you. Those are things that she has said in her own content since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. But this face and the constant smirking and the word was tells you that she knows it's not true. Because if they wanted her gone and they wanted to actually assassinate her, they wouldn't have not only already done it, but they wouldn't stop their plan. I mean, it's not like they're going to get in trouble with the United States government, right? So that's pretty confident to say that there was a plot and she just did what? How does she know that that's no longer a plot or no longer a plan that is going to be carried out? Considering that it's not true and she didn't see any proof, that's why she's saying the word was pretty confidently with a smile on her face.
Okay? I'm just not liking all of this coincidence. I'm starting to feel like a conspiracy, if I'm being honest with you.
Duh. I wonder why that is. Could it possibly be because Candace Owens has been making up conspiracy theories? Is that why she keeps smirking, smiling, and can't keep a straight face because she knows it's not true?
And we should get back to our map now because it's getting a little squishy in Wilmington, Delaware. I'm feeling claustrophobic in Wilmington, Delaware, and I've never even been there.
And yet she's so heavily associated with Delaware and keeps lumping herself in with the we and we're, because psychologically she knows inside, even subconsciously, that she is a part of everything that is happening in Delaware. Her LLCs, her attorneys, her made-up investigation and conspiracy theories, and that gaze aversion. Yeah, that's a pretty good body language cue to tell you that she's lying. Hey, I don't have to say it because her own words and her own facial expressions and her own body language is doing that for me.
Found out in a weird, really effed up way, actually. It makes my stomach turn.
The one thing that should make her stomach turn is the bullshit conspiracy theories that she knows she is putting out into the world for no reason other than to be paid opposition, to psychologically control, manipulate, and gaslight. And when you do those kinds of actions, make those kinds of choices, well, that is negative. That is bad. That is dark. And even if she had good intentions to begin with, and you know what they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And Candace Owens has long been on the highway straight to hell. Trust me, bro, I had a dream. Not only did I have a dream, but my God instinct told me.
I'm going to miss Charlie. I really am going to miss Charlie. And I think when Charlie was assassinated, there was something about it.
Because she realized if you're a content creator on YouTube, if it could so easily happen to Charlie Kirk, that it very easily could happen to her. And she would be a better and more preferred target for many people. But the fact that she says she's going to miss Charlie, she's not saying that she does or that she has missed Charlie, but that maybe one day she's going to. That right there, that word choice tells you that she currently does not feel like she misses him. In fact, she's not displaying any real emotion, despite trying to convince you that she might in the future. If that is not a red flag to you, then Lord help you.
I think when Charlie was assassinated, there was something about it I knew that this story was going to be dark. Instantly, I knew.
When she tries to convince you that she's being spiritual, she often closes her eyes for long periods of time. It's dark because when a 22-year-old radicalized kid decides to take a very, very old weapon that once belonged to his great-grandfather, to his grandfather, to his father, to him, and instead of being a man and facing Charlie Kirk one-on-one and proving him wrong, he hid behind an old weapon like a cop-out pussy. One bullet, one trigger pull, and that's all it took. That simple, that easy, that sloppy. That kind of act of violence, as instantaneous as it is evil. It is dark. The way in which he was murdered is steeped to its very foundation of what happened. In darkness, in evil. Did anybody, including Candace Owens, after watching 7 different people post their perspectives and their view of Charlie Kirk's assassination live on TikTok or YouTube, to have light and happiness and joy to come from something like that? Of course not. It is dark because the act of violence itself is dark.
That Charlie was betrayed. They laughed at me. Oh, you had a dream. Charlie told you he was, yeah, Charlie told me that he was betrayed.
Every time Candace Owens lies, she looks up or looks over. That is called gaze aversion. That is when you have such a high cognitive load because you're lying. You're trying to construct a reasonable response. He didn't come to her in a dream. And even if he did, it was just her subconscious. But just because you have a dream and you remember it, doesn't mean it's truly real. The fact that she wants everybody to believe that Charlie Kirk was so betrayed. Okay, Candace Owens, what does your definition of betrayal mean? Because you're linking that and conflating that with the act of his murder. Did somebody betray him, as in cost him $2 million in donor money every year? Did somebody betray him by telling him he didn't look fat in a certain suit and yet he did a speech in said suit, knowing that cameras were going to be on him all the time? To Candace Owens, what does the word betrayal mean? She wants you to believe that betrayal means what Judas did to Jesus, that he quite literally sold the life of the Messiah for 30 pieces of silver. And not only is this betrayal equivalent to Judas, but Charlie Kirk told her so, even though he is deceased and couldn't possibly have told her so. This is not just psychological manipulation. She is emotionally manipulating you with this lie. And her constant gaze aversion is telling you that she knows she's telling some mistruths with a lie. But sociopaths and psychopaths tend to do that, to lend credibility to the piece that is true. Like the fact that she might have really had a dream about Charlie Kirk. Do you know how many people probably had dreams about Charlie Kirk after his assassination? What if I told you that I had a dream of Charlie Kirk and Charlie Kirk told me something in a dream? What if I told you that he told me in a dream that he's extremely proud of his wife, that he's extremely humbled and honored by the way that the world came together to honor his memory and his legacy, that he's not gone, he's always there, and that he is so profoundly happy and honored that justice was carried out and served. So why does Candace Owens get to say something so crazy and it's given weight, but yet that same honor and privilege isn't given to good, decent, honest people that do nothing but seek and tell the truth? Because people will defend evil and Satan because it's disguised as God and good, and truly deny and forsake God and good when it's standing right before them, teaching them humbly.
And I think part of the mourning was in the grief that I was experiencing. I kind of knew deep down that the whole world was going to be against me, or I guess the whole dark apparatus was going to be against me, not the world. There are so many good people in the world that are the reason that I'm doing this and who understood instantly and felt instantly what I felt.
So the world and the people that instantly felt what she felt, meaning that they fell for her gaslighting and her manipulation. She's doing this all for you, not for God, not for truth, not for justice, for Charlie Kirk. Because justice for Charlie Kirk has already been sought in finding his killer, arresting them, charging them, and bringing them to justice. She's doing it for greed. She's doing it for money. She's not doing it for a mission or for good or for any other reason. As she just told you, she wants you to believe that she's doing it for the world. For what reason? Because they felt what she felt? Because they were duped into believing that it's her mission? Sorry, there's lots of conspiracy theories, but Occam's razor. They caught Tyler James Robinson. And that sloppy, unplanned murder of Charlie Kirk is what caught him so quickly. It was the farthest thing from precise and professional. And the one thing that Candace Owens doesn't want to admit is that it's so easy for anybody in America to get a hold of a firearm and to use it. Cognitively speaking, it's easier to try to defend that, of course, everybody was working against Charlie Kirk and betraying him, which ultimately led to his assassination, rather than facing the fact that America has 340 million American citizens and over 500 guns, enough for each American citizen to have one gun and half of all American citizens to have a second. It was that quick, that fast, that easy accessed to be able to end the life of a whole man. And it's happened so many times, even with presidents. President Abraham Lincoln, President McKinley, President Garfield, JFK. Even look at Martin Luther King Jr., John Lennon, JFK's brother. All people that were assassinated by somebody who simply didn't like their politics. A white man with a gun. And to defend the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, the right to have a gun, is having to deal with the fact that easy access to guns and gun violence is going to be the price that is paid. And unfortunately, Charlie Kirk was not exempt from that price. Also, the truth being spoken doesn't make her millions of dollars. So there's always that to consider. The very foundation, which is greed, jealousy, revenge, anger.
This all happened. And I think it's sad because I was just reflecting on, I guess, really the last part of my youth, being ignorant and thinking that we lived in a country that was free and was fair and was a meritocracy, the excitement of me and Charlie in politics. Like, we were young bucks thinking that we were going to change the world because the MAGA movement offered us this opportunity to do it, right? We are going to get Trump elected. And
Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA did help get President Donald Trump elected the second time. Not Candace Owens, though. So when she says we, she's trying to conflate all of the things that Charlie Kirk had accomplished in his success with herself, trying to piggyback right off of his legacy, his success, his accomplishments. And talking about politics doesn't make you a politician. And I think that's what Candace wanted, was a way in. That's why she flip-flopped and was a fence rider between being a Democrat, a liberal, a quote, stupid Protestant, unquote, and becoming a conservative Catholic, married to a rich, elite British man, now working and operating from America, taking advantage of the American government and economy, the American market. Candace Owens has seen and experienced the best of America, of being an American, of which her husband, because he married her, now lives here. What grieves her is the fact that a young man didn't like Charlie Kirk, because not everybody is going to like everybody. Made the poor, bad choice to take his life, and it was just that simple. It was that easy. And if it can happen to somebody like Charlie Kirk, it can very easily happen to somebody like Candace Owens. Imagine living in the best country in the world out of 195 nations, where you can not only criticize your government openly, especially in the mainstream media today, via social media, your own website, you can author and publish a book about it. You can take advantage of and make millions off of talking shit about your own country. Meanwhile, enjoying all of the privilege and luxury that said country affords you. Because we know that if we could ask Charlie Kirk, he would probably tell you that America was his favorite and the best country, according to him. That America gave him every opportunity that he had, and that he had a rich, full, loving life because of every opportunity. I really don't see Charlie Kirk wanting to blame America or the government or anybody else for the fact that Tyler James Robinson killed him. Because not only is that an inaccuracy, that's a misrepresentation, that's a lie. It's just not what happened. It's not the truth. The feds and the government have nothing to do with why Charlie Kirk died.
We're going to get people to stop talking about racism and sexism and to understand like family is a priority. And I realize now, and I know Charlie realizes now, that we did not see the evil that was around us.
The great master debater of all time only made one mistake in not seeing the evil in you, Candace, and calling it out while he was alive and had every opportunity to. The evil that you have been insinuating and implying on his wife and his children. The burden you have been placing upon them that is not theirs to carry. Again, that is born of a place of darkness, not truth, not justice, not light, and certainly not God.
You know, may everyone involved in this thing go down. I think that's fair. Maybe Turning Point will have some very clear answers. They haven't given us any thus far. Just more attacks on Candace, more people purporting to be Christians attacking Candace.
Money is a pretty big motive. And guess what? Turning Point USA is not paying me. That's for sure. They aren't paying me to tell the truth and calling it as I see it. Again, with the gaze aversion, she's constantly looking up because she knows that she's just running a whole bunch of bullshit. And of course, she's going to blame all of Turning Point USA, every Christian. Why? Because she doesn't include herself with Christian. Candace Owens is not a true Christian. She's just somebody who claims that she is. She's hiding behind so-called real Christianity, the one and only true faith. She doesn't even do her show live. These are pre-recorded, pre-edited. She posts them, uploads them, and then publishes them to go live. You see all of those little super chats and super stickers? Those are hundreds of dollars, from 50 to 100, all the way up to 500 a piece.
79-year-old, thank you. I love making your generation proud because I do think that that was the last generation.
Candace even had a lot of people that speak Arabic in her chat. I don't know if those are worshippers of Islam, her ties to Andrew Tate, possibly being paid by Qatar to say a lot of the horrible things that she does about her own country while she benefits greatly from her own country. Her husband marries her and he gets to enjoy being a citizen. If America is so bad and evil, then why don't they leave? But what is so insanely crazy is that she gets hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gifts, totaling in the thousands to the tens of thousands. And that's not even the hundreds of thousands to millions she makes on the actual ad revenue, the sponsors and the promotions, the website memberships and subscriptions, her book club membership, book and merchandise sales. Yet she said earlier on X, she was going to name names. She was going to show that proof. And guess what she did not do today? The same exact thing she does every day. What do they say is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing every day and expecting a different result. Mrs. Candace Smollett, the orchestrator of hoaxes, conspiracies. I'm going to start calling her Pinky and the Brain. Hey, Brain, what are we going to do today? I don't know, Pinky. The same thing we do every day. We're going to try to take over the world. Didn't Adolf Hitler try to do that once? Wanted to restore Germany to the best nation on earth? Is that what Candace Owens really wants? Is the attention and to be the #1 podcast? Although that only lasted for about a day and then she dropped to number 6. Because sadly and unfortunately for her, Charlie Kirk can only die so many times and only get her so many views.
If you want to take that out of context, go right ahead.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Please like and share. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button, and I will catch you all on the next one. Have a great night, everybody.